This is the Big Fish Cares Podcast. Big Fish Cares Podcast. And here's your host, Benny Fisher.
All right, we got another episode today on the Big Fish Cares Podcast. You've seen this guy before. He was such a hit on one of our previous episodes that we decided to have him back. We're going to shoot 2 episodes with the one and only Chad Wall.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good, buddy. That's we've had a lot of conversations since that last episode.
Yeah.
We had remember you came to that team event that we did? You had a lot of fun with the sales team at Zone 28.
Yeah.
When we had the sales training, and you came up after work one night and hung out with all the guys, and we got to know you a little bit better. And we got to talk to you about a lot of things. But let's dive deep. I know we only got to briefly touch on your background a little bit since there was 3 guys here last time. So let's revisit the background for Chad. So where'd you grow up again?
I grew up in Bell Vernon.
Bell Vernon. That's where you live right now, right? Mm-hmm. So you just stay there.
Moved down the road about a half a mile. Yeah.
Gotcha. Talk to me about your childhood, your parents, your siblings, any adversity that you went through.
I got one sibling, a sister named Jacqueline.
All right. Older or younger?
Younger, 6 years younger.
6 years younger? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. She's really little.
Yeah. And then...
Did you have to beat a bunch of guys up for her when you were in high school?
Yeah. Well, she took care of that by herself. She's not a pushover.
Yeah, that's good.
I remember her jacking a dude up against the wall one time. I forget what he did, but she just grabbed him by the throat and stuck him against the wall. Yeah. She's a fighter for sure.
That's cool, man.
Spent a lot of time with my grandparents.
Okay.
My mom was working a lot.
Yeah.
She worked as a nurse at the hospital, pulling like double shifts, so I was always at Pap's house. And then Pap and Grandma's house. Pap would take me camping during the summer, every summer, for the entire summer.
Wow. So the whole summer you guys would be gone and never come back?
Yeah, my mom used to joke that she had visitation rights.
Where would you go?
Scottyland.
Where's that at? See, I'm not from Pennsylvania. Is that in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it's in over by Rockwood, Somerset area, up in the mountains.
So it was only like an hour and a half away or something.
Yeah, only about that, but it was far enough.
Now, did you guys have like a camper and RV?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had 2 campsites right next to each other that we shared. My mom had one, my grandpap had the other.
That you guys basically, rented out? Like all year?
Yeah, you park a trailer on it and then you pay for the lot every year.
So when I was growing up, my dad, my mom and dad got divorced, and I don't know, a few years after that, I think my dad just wanted something to do for like when we came over to visit him on the weekends. Mm-hmm. And my grandpa had the same thing. There was a place called Springwood. My grandpa would call it Camp Swampy. And they would park these trailers there. Like, I don't know, they probably had to be 30, 40 foot long. And, they ran a little lot. There'd be a group community pool, community pond where you could fish. We'd drive golf carts, like, around the thing. Yeah. And back then, I thought that was like, wow, that was like the Taj Mahal, man. Like, that was cool. Like, I feel like, I don't know if kids still do that or not. I'm assuming they do. I'm sure those park grounds are still around, but.
They are, but they're dying off. The last time I went,
because us younger generation, we're not spending a whole weekend there with our family.
It's crazy to think. Like, we grew up in the time pre-internet.
I did. How old are you?
I'm 36.
And I'm 40. All right, cool.
So, like, when we were just hitting teenage years, that's when the internet just started becoming prominent.
Well, yeah, we weren't on there every day. We didn't have the mobile devices.
Oh, no. We had the pagers.
Yeah, we needed something to do.
Beepers.
I wasn't even allowed to get a pager until my senior year in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as soon as I got out of high school, when I started selling cars at the car dealership, all these guys were walking around with Motorola StarTACs.
Yeah.
So then I bought one of those, and I was like, yeah, I got a cell phone.
Yeah, so I didn't have a cell phone, but I had a golf cart that I drove at like 25 miles an hour because I cracked the governor on it. So you can go in and you can adjust the regulator on it to where it for the speed.
Oh, yeah.
You can get them up pretty quick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, I wasn't very mechanical. But I know you are, because we got lots of cool stories of how you tinker and stuff like that. So you would go there for the whole summer and never come back.
Whole summer.
And then basically, like, you guys would just go to the grocery store while you were out there, and then come back and hang out. Like, what would you do all summer, like hanging out with Pap?
Well, I mean, on the weekends there were always events that they had going on, dances, different like volleyball tournaments, stuff like that. During the summer or during the week, it was like a ghost town up there. So I basically just ran around like a crazy guy, you know. Like,
did you have any friends up there during the week?
Yeah, there were a couple of other guys that would stay the whole time. You know,
You guys probably got into some trouble.
Oh yeah.
Is that when you had your first beer?
No. I started drinking late. And
I feel like that's where like everyone goes to start drinking is at like the campsite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There were definitely those guys up there. Like there was an area that we called primitive area to where there was no electric, no plumbing, nothing. It was just hey, this is where you set up a tent. And that's where all the party people went.
So I got a crazy story about, I can't believe that you brought that up. That's what I love about podcasts. That's what I love about asking people questions. So I remember it was my senior year of high school, I think. And so like, obviously I knew my dad had this place, but by that time when I was that old, I didn't like it there. Mm-hmm. So like by the time I was like old enough to drive, like I never wanted to go to the camp. Like, cause it just like wasn't cool anymore. You know what I mean? I wanted to hang out with my friends. And it was about a half hour away from the house. But my buddies, one of his grandparents had a trailer there too. And when we found that out, I'm like, and he said, "Oh, we were going there." I was like, "Oh, my dad's got a spot over there." And my dad always kept like the cheapest, grossest beer in the refrigerator in the shed, right? Uh-huh. It was like, $9.99, 30 pack of Genesee, right? And again, I was a kid, right? I didn't drink or anything like that, but like, my buddies were starting to do that stuff. And I thought that was the first time that I felt like I did something bad.
Yeah.
Okay? And everyone's going to hear this story. I don't think anybody's ever heard this story. So this is going to be public for the first time. So this is going to be cool. So my buddies, I think it was Jason Mowry and I think Brian Upperman. I can't remember who else was there, but they're like, "We're going to the camp." I was like, "Listen," I said, "I want to come." I said, I can go. We'll go over to my dad's house like at midnight. I'll pop his van open because he never locks his van because his pass is in there. Mm-hmm. Right. And we'll use my dad's pass and we'll go hang out and then we'll go stay at your grandma's place. And I said, "I know how to get into the shed at my dad's place." And I said, "And there's beer in there and you guys can have the beer, but we can't take it all because he's smart and he'll be like, where did it go? But he'll never have any idea that it was me." Right. Because like, so literally, I feel like I went over and we went over, grabbed the pass out of his car. Like it was like 12 o'clock at night. All the lights were out. Pop the door open, grab the pass, go to the Springwood, hang out all night. I think that was the first time. Like I watched Star Wars for the first time, but I didn't like it. Like I'm not a Star Wars person because they started watching it and I'm like, I just don't get it. Uh-huh. Like I just didn't get it. They had a couple beers or whatever, and I didn't listen. I tried that thing and I almost puked. Right, like I was like, "This is disgusting." I just wanted to be the cool guy, right? To like, "Hey, we're using my dad's pass, we're drinking my dad's beer." Yeah, and that was like kind of the story. And I don't know if my dad ever found out. I know my mom won't appreciate that, but yeah, that was. Yeah, that brings back lots of memories, man. So your grandpa, tell me a little bit about him. What was his background?
He was long background. He was in the Army. He's originally from Germany. He went back over to Germany during the Korean War, I believe, to serve in the U.S. military. He was a sharpshooter. He had like all these pins and whatnot, and that's one of the things that he would teach me how to do. Like during the week, there was nobody up there, so we would be like on the road, like with pillows laid out and whatnot, and we're like shooting things that are all the way down at the end of the other road.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like what's that movie with Mark Wahlberg in it?
Sniper.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like that. He could take a BB rifle and like ping a wagon wheel from like 200 yards.
Dude, that's cool.
He was insane with it. He had like all sorts of pins and awards for sharpshooting.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Both my grandpas were, my one grandpa was in the Army, my other grandpa was in the Navy. But they never told me any really cool stories. Like I don't know. I don't know why. But did your grandpa have cool stories?
No, he
like held the stories back?
Yeah, he didn't like to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did.
I know as soon as he finished his service, I know he came home and like he threw away his uniform and everything. He was like, he kept the badges, but he's like, nope, never going back. And I think spending that time away from my grandma, because like they just got married and then he deployed.
Yeah.
So like spending that whole time away from my grandma, I don't think that he liked that too much. So
Yeah, I hear you on that. What and then you graduated from what? Did you go to Bell Vernon High School? Mm-hmm. And then you went then you went to school, right? And then you wanted to go for music, but you had left as a tradesman.
yep, Belmont University School of Music. I was down there like
some chick, huh?
all of a month.
Let's talk about that girl. Who was that girl?
Oh,
I wonder if she's listening.
Nah, let's see. That would have been, her name was Marie. I won't say the last name, but her name was Marie, and I met her at California University. So what happened was my grandfather got sick, and I had to come home just to help take care of him. And they told me, well, while you're there, you can take general electives at a college university, and they'll transfer over when you come back. And so I went to California University for like 3 years after that, and I just never came back. So yeah, it was.
Was that your first true love?
Yeah, it was my first like long term like real relationship.
You guys were steady.
Yeah, she moved in with me, and it was like the first like live in thing.
There you go.
Did that for like 5 years, and
5 years.
Yeah,
Look at you, man. 5 years.
it should have ended a lot sooner.
Yeah, but you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, you don't know. I have a tendency to like just stay in the game for way too long,
Think you can like you think you can fix them.
Yeah, you're like, I can pull through this. I can, we'll figure this out. We'll figure this out. Just more time. And sometimes the reality is, hey, it's time to, move on.
What was the biggest thing from your childhood up until you were, out on your own and with that girl? What was the biggest thing that you had to overcome? Any adversity that you had to overcome that you look back and say, wow, that kind of made me who I am today?
Yeah. I had a very violent childhood.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, my mom married a dude that was my sister's dad.
Okay.
He's very violent, and like he would come home and he would just
hit you or hit your mom?
Oh, both.
Wow.
Yeah, both.
That had to be tough to see.
Yeah, it was the thing that like I remember the most is like laying in bed at like I was like 8 years old, and I could hear him just beating the hell out of my mom in the next room, and I just that shaped me in like I never wanted to become that.
How'd that make you feel when you were 8? Do you remember?
Terrified.
You were scared, right?
Oh, yeah.
Had to be scared, right? Now, did you ever like go down and like try to like stop him or like, you seen the movies where like the 8-year-old's beating up the doll, you know what I mean? Like,
no, the only thing I ever did to him like that was one time he shoved a basketball like into my chest so hard that it like knocked me into the wall, knocked the wind out of me. And I just try to like.
That's the worst thing he ever did to you?
No. It's the worst thing I ever did.
Oh, that's back to him. I gotcha.
I just like stared him down like, oh, I would kill you in this moment. Like.
How long was she in that relationship?
Let's see. From the time I was 6 to 14. So
wow.
8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was rough. He was, he would like psychologically like torture people. Like tortured my mom a lot.
The cops ever get involved? Your mom?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's a great story. So after
here we go, folks. Stay tuned.
Yeah. So this is a good one. So after my mom finally got away from him, because getting away from him was hard too. He used to like break into the house. Like after she was like, "Hey, I want a divorce. You're out of the house." He would break into the house. So we had like bars on the doors, like braces and whatnot. And my sister still had visitation rights with him. And it was maybe when I was like 18 or something. My sister went to go visit him. He was living in Bridgeville at the time. And all this stuff happened to where he had a gun. He was having a breakdown. He was threatening to shoot his new girlfriend and my sister and all this other stuff. So I was driving to Bridgeville ready to go to town. I'm ready to fist up. And so the cops ended up getting involved. His new girlfriend didn't want to press charges. She was trying to make it all go away and whatnot. But he was a fireman, and he used to teach like these special like hazard classes and whatnot. And he was like skilled at like disarming bombs and whatnot. And he used to teach classes on how to disarm a bomb.
Holy cow!
So he had a mock-up that he used for teaching purposes in the trunk of his car. So since his girlfriend wouldn't press charges, they got him on having a weapon of mass destruction in the trunk of his car. They knew it was a mock-up, but they just needed something to hold him with because he had like a gun involved.
And you were 18, so this is after 2011, right?
Yeah.
Or 2001, like, right? Like 9/11, right?
Yeah, no, he was.
Did he do jail time?
No, he never
What?
did. Never did jail time.
He
went. Well,
how do these guys get away with this stuff?
I don't know,
Like,
man.
I mean, I hear about these kind of stories all the time, right? You see in the news, the movies. It's like right now, and I'm thinking like, I hear stories all the time, and these are the ones that we talk about and hear. Think about how many are out there where like no one talks about them.
Oh yeah. Well, with my mom, she was very much just like, we got to think about what's going to happen with your sister. If I put him in jail, all the kids at school are going to make fun of your sister and all
That was the only thing we were worried about, huh?
That was the mentality.
It wasn't like financial or anything like that, because I feel like a lot of times people stay together for financial reasons, right? Because you need two incomes, you got to pay the bills, and
no, this dude was a straight up snake. I remember waking up one night and hearing screaming, and I went downstairs. He's in the kitchen holding my sister. My sister's maybe like 4 at the time, maybe a little bit older. And he's like, "Mommy's trying to take me away from you." And my mom's like in the kitchen, like, "Hey, no, just put her down, we'll talk."
wow.
He was insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's your mom doing now?
She's doing better. She found herself a good dude now.
Yeah?
Yeah. Her new husband, Jeff, I think the world of him. He treats my mom like gold. I love it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's crazy, man. That's definitely, it's probably what turned you into a lover, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, yeah.
There's a bit of a fighter in me. You push me too far.
I'm sure.
I'll throw.
Well, there's probably the curve, right? There's probably the curve where that built up a lot of anger and hostility in you. And then probably as you reached your 30s, you probably like tamed down a little bit. Now you're probably like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be.
It gave me the ability to like keep a level head during a fight, like in the middle of the fight, like stop and go.
Because you would
why is this happening?
Were you ever the type of kid, and I've heard this from other people that I'm friends with, were you the one trying to keep the peace and like trying to like figure out how to like...
Oh, no.
No?
No.
So I would, because I mean, you're trying to protect your mom, and obviously you're small, right? And you can't really do anything. So I didn't know if you were trying to I don't know. I don't know how that dynamics. Like I grew up in my mom and my stepdad, like I never even heard them fight. I've never even heard them raise their. I mean, like I don't think I've ever heard them raise their voice at each other in like in a negative way, which is crazy to me because I've been in many relationships in my life, and I'm very passionate, and and sometimes sometimes I'm not the most proud of sometimes of the things I said in the past, right? But like I've never heard that with my mom and my stepdad. It's like I almost lived the exact opposite, right? Life, right? And I'm just like. But then I think about like all these kids out there that seen different things. Wow, that's a crazy story. But I mean, I think that's definitely shaped you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They say that like if you grew up in a violent household, like you're more prone to violence, like as an adult. I don't believe that, because when I saw that going on as a kid, I was very aware like this is wrong behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like it made me be like, okay, that's everything I don't want.
Don't want to be, right? Well, there's two things that happen. I feel like you either are gonna run from what you know, or you're gonna like go all in on what you know. And it's like I think it's extreme on both sides, right? And I think that in life, any type of learning opportunity comes from like, hey, you take the good with the bad. You double down on the good. You eliminate the bad, right? And then the people that grow and keep growing, that's what they do, because everyone's gonna have bad stuff that happens to them, right?
Oh yeah.
And adversity that they got to overcome. Wow, that's wild. So how many? So after you broke up with the girl, or she broke up with you, we don't really need to know.
I broke up with her technically.
All right, big guy.
Technically.
All right. So what happened after that? So like, where were you working at? And like in your early 20s.
So early 20s, I was a framing carpenter, and during the day, and then I would go work at Home Depot in the stores in the afternoon. So
that's when you were with Home Depot. You started with Home Depot young, huh?
Yeah.
How long were you there?
I worked for them 3 separate times.
Oh, 3 separate times.
Technically. Once in the store, once I worked for a company that Home Depot ended up buying, and then Home Depot hired me.
So you were kind of in the Home Depot ecosystem.
Like almost my whole life, yeah. Almost my whole career.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me some fun stories about being in the trades, because I mean, I know I've been around people in the trades, for a long time now, and it's like,
we're pranksters.
Yeah, so go ahead and give me some cool stories.
Well, other than like going to find the board stretcher.
The what?
The board stretcher. Oh, sending guys for tools that don't exist. It's a great pastime.
I was just gonna say, like, what is that? I'm thinking like I'm supposed to be this really awesome contractor, and I'm like, what's a board stretcher?
Yeah, no, sending the new guys for tools that don't exist.
It's kind of like when my buddies told me to go out in the woods and look for the snipe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
Snipe hunting.
I remember that. I went snipe hunting.
You always fall for it the first time, right?
Oh, yeah. No one ever goes snipe hunting a second time. Unless you're going with someone who doesn't know what snipe hunting is.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? So tell me a board stretching story. So what, you just...
So, like, sending guys for the tools that don't exist, or the one time we had a particular group of characters that we like to prank each other a lot. So we would, like, if somebody went for lunch and they left their nail bag sitting on the job site, well, that nail bag was ending up inside a wall or something. Like, we filled guys' nails bags up with, like, concrete to where they had to come back and, like, bust the tools apart, like, after lunch.
Oh man, yeah. You're an owner's worst nightmare.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah, that's not being productive and efficient on the job site.
I knew we were young.
Hey, I hear you, but we barely. I remember when we first started this company and we weren't as organized, and when we make the orders and stuff like that, us sales guys are known for like leaving stuff off. Mm-hmm. And then our project managers and our roofers and our crews, they get so mad at me because they'd have to go to the store like 15 times. But I said, dude, it's your fault that you had to go to the store 15 times. You should have went to the store once. I said, figured out everything you needed. I said, I can be blamed for the first trip, but I can't be blamed for trip 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I said, that's on you guys. Yeah. I remember one time we had a guy here that was really good with managing time and spreadsheets and stuff like that. And he literally calculated the time that we sat at Home Depot, like at the store waiting in line. And he said that I spent $50,000 one year, more than I should have, on like excessive trips to Home Depot and Lowe's.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Because just think about it. So if you got a guy that makes, let's just say he makes 20, back then you probably made $20 an hour, and you got to leave a job site, right? So let's say you leave a job site. It takes you 10 or 15 minutes to get there. Mm-hmm. Then you got to walk in the store, right? You got to you're parking, if you can't get in the contractor parking lot, right? You're parking deep, somewhere. You walk in, then you got to go find. It's a huge store, right? And a lot of times my guys were newer, right? And they didn't know their way around Home Depot or Lowe's. And they probably felt like they were looking for the board stretcher. Because half the time they would call the office and they'd be like, what do I need? And then we'd have to send them a picture. And man. Or like the roofer would ask them for something. And yeah, because like we don't want to send like the most skilled guy to the store, right? Because we could keep him working, right? So then by the time you get all your stuff, then you have to wait in line to check out. Let's just say it's an hour, okay? Yeah. That's minimum. Minimum, it's an hour, right? By the time you drive, get the stuff, put it back in your car, drive back to the job site. Plus then, they always stop to like somewhere to get something and, sheets. They probably grab the Monster or whatever. Speaking of Monster, this episode is sponsored by Monster. That looked like the Christmas edition.
It's watermelon flavored.
Watermelon flavored. Yeah. That's cool.
Ultra watermelon.
We'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, so he's doing that. You're paying all their benefits. You're doing all this stuff. Plus gas, truck, all this stuff. And then you do it if you're doing it 2 or 3 times a day, and you got 3 or 4 guys. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's like 10. You could spend 10 hours a day.
It adds up quick. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. 10 hours a day. Let's just say with all their benefits and everything, it's $30 an hour, $40 an hour. It's $400 a day, man, at Home Depot. And that doesn't even count what I got to buy.
Yeah.
That's just the time. That's just the time.
Just the time investment.
That's just the time. And, you do that for a while. And then as it added up, then we had even had more people go, right? Mm-hmm. And the times were up. And then I don't know, he calculated it up. I don't know how he came up with the figure. He said, if we get more efficient, we can save $50,000 a year. And I'm like, wow. So that's like another employee.
Yeah.
That's like another human. That's like healthcare benefits. Back then we were smaller. I think there was 10 or 15 people, and you could do some of that stuff. But so tell me about the Home Depot experience, man. Let's dig deep there, because I know that one of the reasons that all these roofing companies are a lot more successful these last couple of years is because Home Depot's out of the install business. So why don't you share that story a little bit for the viewers at home, because this is going to tie back into our contracting company about why it's so important to hire a specialist that knows what they're doing on the job that they're doing. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, I watched the fall of Home Depot exteriors play out in real time, like live. I was there at the end of it.
Yeah, the popcorn.
Yeah. Yeah, and we saw it coming too. Like it wasn't a secret, So Home Depot was 3 separate entities. So there was Home Depot USA, which is the stores. then Home Depot Interiors, which does kitchen, bath, and anything on the inside. And then there was the exteriors division. And that was siding, gutters, windows, doors, insulation, and roofs. So Home Depot, it took them 15 years to raise their labor rates. They were still paying the contractors the same amount that they paid them 15 years ago. And it was just not enough money. Guys were turning us down right and left to try to work for us. We couldn't incentivize people to come on board or to come work for us. And it was just a slow death.
So you got the worst of the worst crews, right?
Yeah. Because nobody really good or efficient working for $100.
They tried to get me when I first started my company. They tried to get me to be a sub for them, and I'm thinking like, bro, I sell to the same customers that you two. Like, why would I do that? Like, I just said it doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, no. I was on the other end of that phone call. I was the one that called you.
Oh, you were?
I was, yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, no, I was the one that called you, and you're like, hey, with these prices, I'm not going to be able to make any money. I was like, I totally understand that. This is like, I'm not even going to argue. I get it, And then after that thing in Colorado happened to where it was...
What thing in Colorado?
So they got the EPA called on them because they were doing a renovation and they weren't lead safe certified.
Gotcha.
And the EPA came in and just hit them with every fine. So Home Depot tightened up and did what corporations do. They hired a bunch of lawyers to make sure that everything was like airtight. But what they did was they put it in a system in place to where contractors needed all this stuff that they didn't really need. Like I had sole proprietor contractors that needed to go get an articles of incorporation just to work for us.
Yeah. And most contractors aren't really good at paperwork.
No.
Yeah.
No. And then there was, with the insurances, they wanted these things called IOSs. I forget what the acronym is. But basically it's saying like if Chuck and the Truck goes out of business, his insurance company will still cover his work. So if he's not here next year, and his roof leaks, like you subbed him out and his roof's leaking, you can still turn that into his insurance even though he's not in business anymore. So Home Depot was requiring that, but only state insurances issue that. Do you
know most insurance companies, by the way, most contractors, I'd say 99% of contractors don't actually have the right coverage to actually be able to cover leaks. Mm-hmm. You can cover weather, most people's homeowners insurance covers and like weather events and stuff like that, but most contractors actually don't. I forget what it's called because I can't remember. Rob deals with that stuff, but but like if there's just a workmanship issue, like most insurance companies don't cover that. They're covering your general liability, which is like your, like if a ladder, like if we have a ladder up and it falls and hits a car, you know what I mean? That's happened to me before, by the way. So like, that's why I know like they cover that claim, right?
Yeah.
But like if we install a roof wrong and then like there's an issue, they're not covering that unless you have like, I forget what it's called. We'll have to get Ed Powell, my insurance agent, on here one day to talk about all that stuff. But so that's cool. So then like, tell me more about the Home Depot demise.
So they ended up just like spiraling because they just started creating all these things to where like, all right, for like the insurance thing, that was a state issued thing. Mm-hmm. Only state insurances issue IOSs. So then my guys with national coverages couldn't work for us anymore. Like if they had a coverage to where they could work in any state or what have you, those national coverages don't have IOSs, so they weren't accepted by Home Depot. So if I'm hiring a new guy and he's got national insurance, I can say, hey, you got to go get a state insurance now. Hey, you got to change from a sole proprietor into a corporation now. Hey, why? I understand, hey, you need to be lead safe certified. Okay, I understand that, Hey, you need to be, you need to have workman's comp or you need to have this. Those things I understood. There were a bunch of other things that just didn't make sense.
Speaking of workman's comp, I feel like 85% of the contractors in Pennsylvania, let's just say Pittsburgh, aren't running with workman's comp.
No.
These are guys that are just running with liability. They're subbing it to a subbing it to a sub to try to like skirt the workman's comp rules and stuff like
Everybody's
that.
Everybody's
a 1099. Yeah. It's so interesting to me because like that is like my uncle taught me a long time ago. That's the one thing that you really need to have, first of all, to protect somebody if they fall, right? Or somebody gets hurt, right? Because people have got families, right? But second of all, like the audit process and the back charges that that they can come back. I mean, it bankrupts companies if you don't have workman's comp.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? If you get caught and you don't have workman's comp, I mean, literally, not only can you go to, technically it's a felony. I think it's a felony 3. And you can go to jail technically for it. It's crazy. So yeah, I've been scared to death my whole life. So I've always paid the piper. Again, one of the other reasons why Big Fish isn't the cheapest contractor, right? Because we're always doing things the right way.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about the insurance company. Because you have to have it, they milk the heck out of it.
Well, yeah.
So for insurance, you couldn't get workers' comp unless you've previously had it for 2 years. Well, how do you get it originally? You got to go through the state.
The state's got the highest rates
Swift.
too.
Yeah, it's 29 cents.
Oh, and they're worse than dealing with the IRS or the state auditors or anybody that you're afraid to deal with. They're they're hard to deal with.
Yeah. So the Swift's current rate right now is 29 cents per dollar of payroll.
I know some people that pay 40 cents.
Oh,
yeah.
That's insane. That's if you pay out $100,000 in.
I think we have it down to 18 cents or something, or 20 cents with the private carrier now. Yeah. Because I was on Swift for the first 2 years. Yeah, everybody does. It's
it's insane. You have to. There's no other way to get it,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was just, I was doing the math and I'm like, I can't.
And they're so old school too, by the way. Dude, trying to send stuff into them and deal with them and call them. I mean, man, you talk about customer service.
Nothing.
Dealing with the government is just wow.
Yeah. No,
it's just tough. Well, and if they made it a little bit easier and they made it a little bit better to deal with, I feel like more people would have it.
Or maybe put guidelines out on what I actually need to run a business.
Well, you got to read it. You got to be an attorney to read their website and all their documentation. And most contractors, especially the ones just getting started, I mean, we're not the smartest guys in the world to begin with. I mean, that's why we're contractors and not attorneys.
Yeah. Yeah, if I paid attention in school, I wouldn't be swinging a hammer.
Oh, that's funny, man. So tell me about when you left Home Depot.
Oh, okay. So,
because that's a great story.
Yeah. So saw the writing on the wall that everything was going down because they started to penalize the contractors too. I had a guy get fined $500 because he parked a brand new that year model truck on the road. He wasn't even in the customer's driveway, and he didn't put cardboard underneath his.
So when you say fine, you mean just deduct it off their invoice? And
they would find it. They hired what they called a compliance auditor, and he was covering 5 states, and he would just drive from
because Home Depot wasn't the cheapest price ever. No. Home Depot was always the most expensive.
Yeah.
But they weren't paying their contractors.
They were finding reasons.
They were probably paying their salesmen, I bet.
Yeah,
I knew a sales guy. Did you know Ron DiOrio?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a cool guy.
No, yeah. I like Ron as a person.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't like the jobs Ron sold. So Rob sold a job where the entire roof was held up by a 4-inch PVC pipe.
Well, listen. Okay. See, all guys in operations hate sales guys. Listen, we're all guilty of not understanding all the pieces and parts.
Yeah.
So just give everybody a little bit of a break, Chad.
I usually do. But I asked them.
You're just lucky I'm still not selling roofs here. I would drive you insane because I would like to go you need 25 square of black shingles and some ridge cap. All right, cool. And I don't bring any of the other pieces or parts with me because it's those are too small details. You know what I mean? I just want to make the customer happy. Right?
Yeah. So. No, I like Ron as a person. I really do. But
that's awesome.
He was always the one that sold the wacky stuff.
But he was a good salesman.
He was.
I mean, everything I've ever heard about him, he's always a good salesman.
He was.
So. What? So tell us about the exit. Because, I mean, we were at Zone 28, and I had never heard the story before, and I was like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. And then that's when I was like, well, this Chad Wallman, he's got a little bit of a sense of humor.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were at a meeting, and I forget what they told us, but basically it was like, hey, this job that keeps getting worse? Well, it's getting even worse, and now you got to do somebody else's job on top of yours, if you want to be able to move things. And I was so frustrated that I knew I was done. I knew the company was going under because we couldn't hire any new contractors, and the contractors we had were just jumping ship. I was like, oh, all right. So, I got a new job, and then I recorded this diss video, this rap diss video.
What's a diss?
a diss, like making fun of somebody.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not hip with all that
No,
stuff.
no, it's cool. It's cool. So, like, right around that time, Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly were going back and forth with the rap battles.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Is that where the inspiration came from?
That's where the inspiration came from.
That makes sense. I'm like, how do you come up with this idea? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so clever.
Yeah, no, because I was listening to them go back and forth, and I was like, you know what? I got a ton of stuff I can say about Home Depot and how bad they're running things. You know, like there was a whole department they could have just fired because they never did anything. And it was the department that was responsible for getting our contractors onboarded, making sure all their paperwork was right. They were just useless. It took 167 days to onboard someone. It was nuts.
And I'm struggling sometimes at Big Fish because I'm like, I got project managers that we can on board in 30 to 60 days between their level of experience. Sales guys sometimes takes me 60 to 90 because I really want them to understand everything so we don't have to keep retraining them. Mm-hmm. So we don't have those guys that forget the 4-inch PVC downspouts and all this other stuff, right?
Yep.
So you recorded a rap, right? A rap disc, and it was very homemade.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then tell me about how you delivered that.
So since I was a district manager, I had a corporate email address, and I could hit copy all, and it went to the vice president, the CEO, just the whole.
Did you send it to the whole company or just the leadership?
Whole company.
So how many people? How many employees are at Home Depot? Does this go to cashiers or just managers?
No, it would go to anyone with a corporate
anybody that
email
needed
address.
an email address at Home Depot. So there's probably thousands.
It got 250 views the first hour.
It's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I made it private because
I was gonna say, well, can we put the link? Can we put the link though in the show notes so that way the people that listen to this show can watch it at least?
Sure. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, you can put the link to it.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, listen, you guys have to watch this clip, and it is the most. I don't know, because I'm looking at it from both sides. I'm looking at it from an owner's side, I'm the manager, and how But you know what though? They should have did a better job for you.
Oh yeah,
that's the way I look at it. But the creativity of what you did, I was like, dude, you're a man. That was hilarious.
It went a little viral at Beacon. I'm not gonna lie. Joe Miller probably has seen it. Jim Stein probably knows about this if you ask him about it. Hey, do you remember a rap video about Home Depot? They'll probably be like, oh yeah. Because I remember, I would go into Beacon and they would all be like, that was hilarious, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was so cool. Yeah, we're gonna put that link in the show notes. I gotta make sure I remember that. So. What'd you do? And then what? After that was over, what? Then COVID happened, right?
No, COVID was a little bit after that. So this was at the end of 2018. I went to another company called Mount Pleasant Window and Remodeling.
Okay.
I did a small stint at 84 and then Mount Pleasant.
Ooh, wait a second. Hold on a second. 84 Lumber.
84
So
Lumber.
I remember when I was a kid, 16, 17, 18, I would always see the ads in the paper. Manager in training. Then I knew a couple buddies that went to do it and they all quit. And then when I moved here to Pittsburgh and I met Jim Stein and I met Ed Brown, they both started at 84 Lumber, and they ended up making it through the program, I think. And they worked there for a little bit, and then I think then they went on their, Jim went to Beacon, I think Ed went to Babcock. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I just read an article the other day about Joe Hardy, and it's a pretty cool story. I mean, I don't know much about Home Depot. I know that, or not Home Depot, 84 Lumber, but I know it's cool because it's a local company here that really made it big, and they have I don't know. I think they used to have 500 stores. I think they're down to 200 or 300 stores now. I'm sure Home Depot and Lowe's put the squeeze on them a little bit. But I think that they're probably mostly out in those country areas. They got a little niche, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. How'd you feel about 84 Lumber?
84 Lumber was a nightmare to work for.
Really?
Yeah. It was.
Was there a lot of turnover?
It was 1960s in there, almost freely people were sexually harassing other people and no consequences whatsoever. You couldn't have a beard. You had to be shaven because Joe Hardy was a Navy guy and he didn't respect people with beards. He runs a tight ship. I mean, he's 90 though, right? Oh yeah. But I'm just saying, the whole atmosphere of working in that environment was stepping into the past.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure that's probably a little bit different though. I think his daughter runs stuff now too. But
Yeah, Maggie. So Maggie's running 84 Lumber. He just opened up Hardy World for Taylor, and then I think Paige is doing real estate.
that's what it was. One of the daughters, one of his and he's got like a young daughter, right? One of his young daughters. That was what the article was about. I forget what it was about.
She's taking over Hardy World, Taylor. They were just in
It was just like I just read an article somewhere online about it. I don't know. And I've been down to Nemacolin Woodlands, and I'm thinking and again, as a visionary and an entrepreneur guy, I'm thinking that's I understand Joe Hardy. He wants to create an experience, right? He needed a playground. That Nemacolin Woodlands, have you been down there? Oh, I mean, it's pretty sick.
Yeah. Oh, I know the family.
Yeah.
His ex-wife is a really good friend of mine, Deb Hardy.
Cool.
And Paige and Taylor are Deb's kids. So, I've known them since they were 5.
Because they kind of live down that way, right?
Yeah.
Out towards you or down between you
Deb
and
lives in
Uniontown or
Ross
something.
Draver, and Joe Hardy lives in Bentleyville.
That's cool.
His daughters live in Bentleyville.
But then I've heard how about some of the people I know have been on the jet. They get to take the jet around, go from branch to branch. I mean, that's kind of cool though. I mean, I don't know. That's fun stuff. So what'd you do during COVID? Because you tell me that you played video games, right?
I did.
You got sucked into the video game vortex.
I got sucked into Conan Exiles and Apex Legends.
Yeah? Those are shooter games, right?
Well, Conan Exiles is a survival game, so you
Okay.
gotta you start off with absolutely nothing, and you gotta pick plants and make clothes and whatnot, and then eventually it's like Minecraft for adults.
Really?
Yeah, you have to go out and mine materials in order to make a homestead and whatnot, but then other players can invade you. And
But Sammy shouldn't play that game. Is that what you're saying?
No, definitely not.
Well, he loves Minecraft, so
no.
And he might listen to the podcast, so because he actually subscribes to the podcast. Sammy, don't play it.
Yeah, maybe later, maybe whenever he's 16, 18, something like that.
I feel like these kids nowadays, they see stuff that's way worse than anything that we've ever seen. So I'm actually afraid to even ask him because it's bad out there on the YouTube. But
Yeah.
So the other couple, well, tell me about some of the other things that you're interested in. Because, I know we talk about quantum physics a lot. And I have no idea how that ever got brought up. I don't know how long you were working here until we figured out you were this quantum physics brainiac nerd. That's in the roofing business because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
To me. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I'm a big science geek, a huge science geek. And I like to... I'm one of those guys that'll pull something apart to see how it works.
Yeah.
And I think the appeal of quantum mechanics is it's how the universe works at the most fundamental level. Really what you are is a collection of tiny fundamental particles that are interacting with each other to make the parts of an atom, which assemble to make an atom, which assemble to make molecules, which assemble eventually to build up all the way to be you. But at the most fundamental level, the parts of you that make you are just energy vibrating in a quantum field. It's crazy, to think of how that interacts with each
your
other.
skin, your hair, everything's just little particles.
Everything's just little tiny fundamental particles. So whenever you you look back and you remember the picture of the atom whenever you were a kid.
Yeah, there was a couple
you'd have the proton in the center, the neutron, and then the electron going around the outside. Well, those are made up of smaller particles that we found out. Well, the electron's fundamental, but the proton's made up of quarks. So there's other particles that have to interact with each other to form those, and then they just keep on building up and build bigger assemblies down the line. And the rules of how those things work, have you ever heard me say it's not enough to know how, you got to know the why too?
Yeah, I've heard you say that, and I think I say that too, but for different reasons.
Yeah, it's it's not enough to know just how to flash a roof. You need to know why you flash it.
Right, we talk about the what, right? What is the flashing? How is the step by step, but why do you need to flash it? It's to keep the water out, right?
Exactly.
And how water stays out is once you understand that, the what and the how are really simple.
Yeah, so in quantum physics, the math tells you the how, So when you're looking at the math, you're trying to figure out, but why? Why does it do this? And that's where you get all the funky stuff the many worlds theory. All right. So we know that everything has to deal with probabilities and wave functions. All right. There's a certain probability that I'm going to be on that side of the room. There's a certain probability that I'm here. and nothing is certain until the moment of measurement. So, hey, I just measured myself. I'm sitting right here. I'm not over there. There's a 0 probability that I'm there now. But before we make the measurement, I could be there. I could eventually migrate over there. But at the time of measurement, I'm sitting right here. So we know that inherently there's a probability thing. So we don't know if the wave function collapses, like, hey, this is the only option for me right now. Or is the wave function like continuous through other universes to where, hey, there's a universe where I'm sitting on that side of the room. Both could exist simultaneously. Like, so
I feel like half the people at home would be like, this dude's crazy. The other half is like, tell me more.
Yeah. Well, the more you dive into it, then like...
How did you get into this?
The weirdest way possible, trying to scientifically explain ghosts.
Why?
Because I grew up in a haunted house.
What do you mean you grew up in a haunted house?
I mean, I grew up in a haunted house.
Like, what do you mean by that? Who told you it was haunted? Your mom?
No, it's the things that I experienced and I saw while I was there. I was 14 years in that house. I don't believe in a lot of hocus pocus stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff I'll be like, voodoo, you know, like, but ghosts.
Wait a second. Let me wrap my head around this. Mm-hmm. Now we're full circle. Now we're back in the childhood at the house.
Yeah.
Now, did anybody else think the house was haunted? Did your sister or your mom think it was haunted?
Everyone knows that.
So
it's
tell me, like, what your first experience was with the haunting.
So it's too long ago to remember what
whatever.
was first,
just
but
fine,
I can give you a couple experiences.
Give me a couple experiences.
All right. So
this is why we have Chad Wall on the show, by the way, folks. He's got all kinds of amazing stuff.
So there were so many different things that happened. But I tried to go back and explain it as an adult. Was it an overactive imagination? You know, like, was I just imagining things because I was a kid? And there's a couple like key instances that I can't explain. One of them was my alarm clock getting broken. So one night I'm at home, I'm by myself. I'm like maybe 12, 13 in the house by myself. And I hear my alarm clock going off upstairs. And I was like, oh man, I set it for 7 at night instead of 7 in the morning again. And I'm like terrified because now I got to run upstairs to turn off the alarm clock because I didn't like going upstairs by myself at night. I was like, I stayed at home until mom got home, or downstairs until mom got home. And I remember the alarm clock just went off. I was like, what? That thing goes off for like 3 hours if it's left by itself. A couple seconds later, I hear boom. It's like, what the heck was that? And I go to the bottom of the staircase. My alarm clock's laying there in pieces. Like, it was thrown down the stairs, and there's a dent in my metal door at the bottom of the stairs.
Do you think that could have been your stepdad that threw it?
No. I was the only one home. So this alarm clock fell, quotation marks, all the way, or off my dresser, made it all the way across my room, around the corner, down the hall, and then heaved itself down the stairs to dent this metal door.
And what's the probability of that happening?
Very low. I'd say like...
do you have an equation for that?
Nah. I've been trying to wrap my head around it because, like, I don't believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Bigfoot might have been Gigantopithecus, just misidentified, you know, so there's
whoa, shots fired for all the Yeti people out there.
Yeah, probably extinct. Although it was only 10,000 years ago, so who knows? There could be one out there. But no, like, I don't believe in, you know, magic, voodoo, witchcraft, but I saw a miner, like, not like a under 18, but like a dude with the hat with the light on. Coal miner. In my jacuzzi room, in my house, plain as days.
Wait a second, you had a jacuzzi room?
I had a jacuzzi room.
Man.
It was a back porch that we walled in with a jacuzzi in it. So we called it the jacuzzi room. And I was walking out one night. I was by myself in the house, and I opened the door to the jacuzzi room, and there's a dude standing there. He's not like see-through or anything. He's just standing there. He had like pale green overalls on, the lamp.
Coal miner hat on.
Coal miner hat. He turned around. He looked at me. He was just as surprised to see me as I was to see him. He was just like, "What's this?" And like, so I turned around and I
feel
ran.
like we're talking about, like, if Sammy's listening, I feel like that stuff happens in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Like, this is the stuff that, like, Shaggy and Scoobs and, like, you know, that's what the Mystery Machine and Daphne and Fred, like, that's what they're all about.
Right?
Did you watch Scooby-Doo as a kid?
I did as a kid,
Do you think that, like, that may have, like, had, like, a creative juice in your brain and you might have sell stuff?
Maybe. I don't know. But, like, I wasn't the only one that saw stuff. And then when I was in college, I was still living in that house. And my girlfriend at the time, Marie, the one that ended up living with me, she was like, "Oh, you're crazy. Ghosts don't exist." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "My house will change your mind." And she came and started spending nights at the house. And the one time she was helping me clean my room, she picks up a book, puts it on the shelf, turns around, and the book that she just put away hits her in the back of the head. It flew off the shelf and hit her in the back of the head. And then she's like,
"Stop it."
No, I'm serious. I
hit her in the back of that. Well, what kind of force?
Huh? It's just like it
just if I like
just like a toss,
light little toss.
Yeah, it wasn't like
didn't like leave a bruise or a mark or anything. No proof.
No proof. No, it was
Ghosts
just like
never leave proof, do they? No. So she came over for what they call a ghost hunt. Right now, people charge money now to go to places like this, and like you could like set up like we should buy. Did your mom still live in that house?
No.
So we should go buy that house, and we should charge money because now this podcast is going to get a lot of views. And everyone's going to be like, I want to go do a ghost hunt at Chad Wall's childhood house.
Yeah.
We could set up cameras. Yeah, because like I knew a buddy back in Canton, Ohio, who was really big into ghost hunts. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we were about a half hour, an hour away from the Mansfield Reformatory. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
So that old prison that was in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
And people, you can go there and go do these ghost hunts. And people will take recording devices and sound machines and audio and video. And like, they'll go stake it out. And they're like trying to record a ghost.
Yeah.
It's wild what people are up to nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Now, are you into that?
I had a brief stint of that after I moved out of the house because I felt like something was missing. Because I moved out of the house, I never had another experience, ever. But, like, I had so many experiences while I was in that house. And
Give me another one.
All right.
Did your mom ever have any experiences?
Oh, yeah. So we had this thing that I called the ghost cat. So it wasn't really a cat, wasn't really a ghost. It was just kind of this, like, it was about the size of a cat. All right. And it was just this black haze. It moves super quick through the house. Like you'll be standing in the kitchen, all of a sudden it will dart from one corner to the other and it'll just be gone. And
we call those big rats.
So me and my girlfriend, we were cuddling on the couch. I had a black leather sofa with black pillows. And then all of a sudden she goes down, she starts looking on the floor for something. I was like, what are you looking for? She's like, that pillow you just threw. I was like, I didn't throw a pillow. She goes, something black just jetted past here. I was like, oh, that's the ghost cat. Like my sister saw it, my mom saw it. My mom like
you guys didn't you just called it the ghost cat.
Just called it the ghost cat.
How many years was that ghost cat around?
14 plus years, probably.
He
still
never
there.
Died, huh?
No,
still there probably.
Still there probably. So when
we gotta go knock on that door. Hey, listen, let's go do a door knock down there. Let's put a door hanger on there. See if we can get a call, an invitation. Let's see if we can go spend the night. A little ghost hunt. Let's take all the equipment with us.
Let's go, dude. I have been dying to go back into that house. I know the people that bought it right after us left, like one night. Just they were living there for like because I moved 2 houses down from it.
I wonder if you have to disclose that when you go to do this when you have to sell the home.
You're supposed to.
Are you really? Mm-hmm. What do you mean? There's no way that's real.
You're supposed to. Yeah. If it's suspected of being haunted, you're supposed to disclose it.
Yeah, but I feel like don't you think haunted has to do with the human?
You think? I don't know.
I think haunted has to do with the human.
I can't really.
I've never seen anything haunted before.
I can't point to it definitively and say that. I can tell you that it's not like what you see on TV. Because when you see on TV, you're like, oh, we found an Indian burial ground and, oh, the demon was trying to send me a message. It's not like that at all. It's stuff happening in your house and you don't know why.
Just basic, normal, weird.
Normal noise. Like, I opened up a door and there was a guy standing there that shouldn't have been there. And then he was gone.
Did that guy have a name? Did you give that guy a name?
No, he wasn't trying to send me a message.
He wasn't like Joe the Miner?
No, he wasn't trying to say stop using nukes.
By the way, folks, we're on our third monster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This guy's got a monster problem. Mm-hmm. I'm like looking at you over there. So now you got the white one over there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's 3 deep already. We're only in almost an hour and he's 3 deep. So.
Yeah, I usually do about 1,000, 1,200 milligrams of caffeine a day.
Yeah, we're going to probably talk about that on the next episode.
It's probably not good.
Wow. So the ghost hunts and the ghost haunted house. That's wild. What else are you into? So you're in the... So then you took that information.
And I tried
and then for the last 15, 16, 18, 20 years, you've been like trying to figure out...
what I saw as a
what
kid.
You saw and then how it happens and then why it happens, right? Mm-hmm. And you're trying to explain this through quantum mechanics?
So...
Is it called quantum mechanics or quantum physics or like what is...
all the above. So quantum...
I don't know the difference.
Yeah.
I feel dumb right now. Just so you know, people.
Quantum mechanics is the overall theory, or quantum physics is the overall theory. Mechanics is like the mechanical, how does it operate? Like specifically the math.
Gotcha.
So,
is this like E equals MC squared type stuff?
well, that's general relativity, but I mean, in the same ballpark. You need to understand relativity to really be able to grasp quantum mechanics and why it's so weird.
This is why I didn't like school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right. Well, general relativity is interesting in and of itself.
But it's so much more interesting now that I know a creature like you. When I say creature, I say that with the utmost respect because I'm into these things called NFTs right now. And my buddy Gary V told me about a project that he's partnering with a young artist named Danny Cole. And he has a project called The Creature World. Mm-hmm. And I think Danny Cole and you would really get along. Uh-huh. And he's creating this like art project, and like you go into the metaverse with your creature, and like you can roam around, and like I don't know, some of this stuff's fascinating. It's because of things that happened in his childhood and his creativity and the things that lead to this stuff. And then I'm meeting you, and I'm thinking like, this stuff is kind of interesting. I will tell you, I'm slightly interested, and I wish I could understand it more, but I think the more I get to know you.
So one of the most fascinating things about general relativity is the fact that time and space are two sides of the same coin.
So wait, say that again. Two sides
of the same coin.
So opposite sides?
No, they're the same thing. Like they're part of the same unit.
So you said space and time.
Same.
Is that what about the space-time continuum?
Same. Yeah.
I feel like that we got to cover some of this stuff in the next episode.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Space and time are inseparable. Think about it. Anytime you have to be somewhere, you need a location, you need a time, right? So they're always interconnected. You could say, "Hey, I'm going to be at, 450 Broadway. Meet me there." Well, when? You got to give it time. It's another point. It's another, if XYZ location, this is another, dimension. That's why it's called a temporal dimension, actually. We're 4-dimensional, 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time. And some of the cool stuff that happens around like a black hole, time and space. So a black hole twists space-time so much that time and space flip roles. Space becomes 1-dimensional, time becomes 3-dimensional.
My head hurts.
Yeah. So 3-dimensional time would look like this. If you look down, you can see the past. You look to your side, you'll see the present. You look up, you'll see all the future play out. That's what 3-dimensional time looks like.
And then what's the 4th dimension?
So the 4th dimension would be space, and that inside of a black hole. So there's no volume inside a black hole because you can't have volume in a 1-dimensional space. So everything in a black hole only heads in one direction towards the center. So there's no up, down.
Black holes are infinite, right?
We don't know yet. So
there's people that are probably still going into the black hole, right? And like the black hole just keeps going and going and going.
There are theories that 2 black holes would create a wormhole. You could go into a black hole. There's more. Do
you think Elon Musk knows?
No. Nah, I don't think anybody knows yet. Is
he into this stuff, you think?
Probably. I would imagine so. I mean, he's got his hands in so much stuff. When's that guy sleep?
I don't know.
Didn't he just buy Twitter?
Like he owns like 10%, which is like a crazy number. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be on their board.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's theories that you could go into a black hole and be spit out into a parallel universe, but you could never come back into your original universe. Like there's what's called Penrose diagrams that plot it out.
Where do you get all this information?
PBS Space-Time is a good one.
PBS, like the show that
public
we watch,
broadcasting
like Sesame
station.
Street
Yeah.
show?
Yeah.
Like where we watch Sesame Street?
Yeah.
And you know what? Like next episodes it talks about
quantum physics. You just got to hang in there a little bit longer after Big Bird. But no, PBS Space-Time has a YouTube channel where they go through and they explain some of the concepts. Then I listen to Brian Greene a lot. He's the professor of physics and mathematics in Columbia University. He does like the World Science Festival. He hosts it, and they have all these lectures to where they bring in like the top physicists of the day, and they all go around and they talk like is free will an illusion? Because the universe, according to general relativity, is deterministic. Everything
is free will. Say that again.
Is free will an illusion?
Free will an illusion.
Yeah. So
I feel like that could be the title of a podcast.
It could be.
I feel like you could talk about that for an hour.
I probably could.
Holy cow.
Because, well, that all goes back to Einstein's relativity. So in the math of relativity, all right, you can show that two people don't experience time the same way. Like if we're both sitting still right now, our clocks are ticking off at the same rate. But if you got up and started moving, your clock would tick off a little bit slower than mine would. Only by like a billionth of a second. Too small for us to notice, but still, over time, it has a big effect. And it's got enough of an effect that we have to calculate it in the GPS satellites.
What's your favorite watch?
Omega?
You think Omega can tell the difference?
Probably not.
How about Rolex? You think Rolex can tell the difference?
Probably not. You need an element of cesium to be able to tell the difference.
Like, I was at a Tony Robbins conference, and he has like a watch, and I think it's a Richard Mille. Mm-hmm. It was like a $600,000, $700,000 watch. I bet you his watch can tell the difference.
I doubt it. Nah, you need what they call an atomic clock. So you know what the official timekeeper for the United States is? Actually, the official timekeeper keeper for the world. It's if you bombard a cesium atom.
Say that again.
Cesium.
Spell that.
Celsium. Cesium.
Okay.
If you bombard a cesium atom with like light energy, like a laser, it vibrates, it ticks. And it ticks off like 9 trillion or 9 billion ticks a second.
Okay.
So every time it gets up to that 9 billion, another second's passed. That's the official timekeeper for the world, is how fast the cesium atom ticks when bombarded with electricity.
We're gonna have to wrap this episode up. This has been fascinating. My mind is blown. I don't even know. Like I'm like stuck.
Yeah.
What did you just say?
The cesium atom, they hit it with a laser and it ticks, it vibrates, it flashes.
What do they do about leap year? Does it like just go berserk for leap year?
No, it's gonna tick at the same rate regardless of what we do with our calendars. So leap year is just like a science trick.
That's what the government put that in to keep everybody sane, right? To keep all you nerds like, oh no, man, that's not a true year. Like,
a true year is 365 and a quarter day.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's what I mean. That's why like they have to like add that, because we couldn't just have a quarter day. People would go nuts. Mm-hmm. So I love that we should do some research. You probably have already done it. We should do research on how they decided to come up with leap year. Like who's I'm assuming that's all over the world, right? I mean, like, we're all operating on the same calendar.
Yeah. Well, kind of.
We have to, right? I mean, because like that's the one thing I feel like everybody agrees on: time zones and calendars.
Yeah. They didn't always. That actually is
listen,
we're
going to talk about that on the next episode. If you guys love Chad Wall, subscribe to this podcast. I feel like he's going to be a regular guest on this show because holy cow. But yeah, subscribe, put in the comments, let me know what you think about Chad Wall. We'll put that YouTube link. Make sure you send that to Mallory.
I will.
We'll get that in there, man. This has been fun. And let's shoot another one, man.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Big Fish Cares podcast.